Hey guys, welcome back to another Grounded 2 video. In this video, I'm going to be sharing 40 tips with you guys. I've been playing this game for a while now, so I believe that I am able to actually make this video. I'm sure that even if you're a pro or a beginner, you will find some value in these tips that I'm going to be sharing. So we're going to be starting off with the general tips, and then we're going to move on into more advanced tips. So the first one that I believe that everyone should practice is the hot drop system. Now the hot drop mechanic in this game is super useful. It allows you to drop items directly into boxes that contain the same items. For example, if I go into this plant box, you can see that I have some sprigs, and then over here in my inventory I also have sprigs. So if I go ahead and deposit this item by pressing the hot drop key, it's going to deposit items in boxes that already have the same item. So if I were to go ahead and press end, you can see on my left side that items were deposited. If I go into this one, you can see that the sprig is now in this one. Another thing that I should mention about the hot drop feature is that you can actually turn it off for individual boxes or turn it off for all boxes together. So to turn it off for an individual box, simply go to the box, interact with it, and there's a little slider here, click it, and it's going to turn it off. That means no items will be automatically deposited in this box. If you want to turn it off for every box in the game, simply go into your pause menu, go down to options, and then you're going to see at the bottom, hotpot deposit to all chests on. You can simply go ahead and turn that off. Another tip that I want to share with you guys, renaming your chests. The reason why I suggest that you do that is because when you actually use the hot drop system and your items are deposited in boxes, you want to know where these items are. So for example, again, I have this plant box. If I go into it, I know that it's something to relate to plants. So renaming your box is super useful. I can know that there's insect parts in this box. So everything here is from insects. This one up here is just a mixture of different things. But yeah, you get the gist of it. Simply renaming your box is super useful in organizing your base loot. Next one that we're going to be looking at is crafting in the game. Now crafting requires you to be beside the boxes that contain the items. So if you're in range of the boxes, you can craft directly from the boxes. For example, if I were to go over to this spinny wheel, and let me just take out everything here first, and then I want to create some plant fibers. If you look in my inventory, notice that I have some plant fibers, but if I were to put them in this box, which is my plant box, and then go back to the spinning wheel, I still can craft them because the box is in range. If you take a look at your top right hand screen, you're going to say nearby storage 13 in range. That means I have 13 storage in range to actually craft from that storage, which is pretty useful. When I just started the game, one of the things that had me was to get water and also food. So I'm going to be showing you guys 3 passive devices that gather stuff that you should definitely use. And the first one is this one right here. The dew collector is something that collects dew. Now out in the world, you can find dew on leaves, grass, but it's really hard to find when you're in a tight situation and you're, dehydrated. So creating a dew catcher so you can go up to it and simply drink some water is super useful. You can also store the water into a collector, but you have to use something like a canteen to actually transfer the water. So once you have your canteen, you're gonna go out and then you're gonna collect it. You can collect 2 at a time, and then you're gonna bring it back into your base, and then you're going to deposit into this thing right here. Currently it's full, so I won't be able to deposit in there, but if you can make more, you'll have a continuous supply of water. The next thing that I suggest that you make is these sap catchers. Pretty much what you need to do is just stick it on a tree where sap comes out, and you can collect a bunch of sap over time. Another thing that you can use, which is a passive tool to gather stuff, and again this is super important, is the garden bed. You can actually plant stuff inside the garden bed. For example, I can plant these toadstool here. So let me just take this out and put in a toadstool. You can also put spoiled meat right here as fertilizer. What this does, it increases the speed at which the item will grow. Another tip that I don't know how much of you guys know about, and that is switching tiers based on stuff that you want to build. For example, if I'm in my building tab, my construction, and I want to build a part of my base, you can actually switch between them. If you look at the bottom of the stem wall here, you can see that we have 3 different slots. We also have it here for the stem wall windowed. So if you press the F key, you can actually switch between the tiers that you have. So we have the first one, which is the grass wall, then we have the stem wall, and then we have the pine wall. The game will prompt you to create yourself a lean-to. A lean-to is very useful for when you're trying to sleep through the night, because the night is pretty dangerous and you don't want to go out at nighttime. It's very useful, but as soon as you can, I suggest that you go ahead and create yourself a bed. To find the bed, you're going to go into your build menu, find your lean-to, and then press F to switch the tier. What this does is switch between the lean-to and the bed. You're going to go ahead and create your bed. Now, the reason why you want to create a bed and not continue to use a lean-to is because the bed gives you buff. There's two buffs that it actually gives, which is comfy thirst and comfy hunger. What this means is that it reduces the hunger and thirst of your character. The game is currently in early access, and because of that, there's a bunch of bugs that you will definitely experience. If for some reason you are stuck out in the wild and your backpack is far away from you, like you die and it just randomly drops off the map, you can actually get back that backpack super easy. Let's go ahead and press our pause menu, then go down to game repairs, which is located right here, and then we have a few options. We have cancel nearby BPs. That means if you have a BP, like for example, if I were to create these things right here and I'm nearby them and I want to get rid of them, simply go into your game repair and then cancel BPs nearby and press yes. If I go out, it's going to cancel all the BPs that I'm beside. As you can see, the range or the radius is pretty small because I was not that far from these set of stuff and it didn't actually work. So bear in mind, the range isn't that far. Then there's another option in game repair, which is recover backpack. This only works once per save. So it says this can only be run once per load of save. So I have to save this game first and then I can use it again if my backpack is, lost somewhere. So it's a very useful feature for early access. I think it's going to be replaced eventually, but for an early access game, you can recover your backpack. No need to stress out. So when you go over an item, you can see that you can actually pick up the item. Let me switch into first person mode. You can pick up the item by simply going over it. You can see that the item is highlighted. But if you turn to your right or to your left, you can see that it just disappears really quickly and you won't be able to pick up the item if you're not directly looking at the item. But I'm going to be showing you guys a pretty cool thing that you can actually do to increase how far you can actually pick up stuff. So let's pick this up and go over here, and then we're going to go into our pause menu, go down to options and then accessibility. You're going to turn on this thing that is called wide interaction. So we're going to turn it on and we're going to go back into first person mode, and you're going to see that the item is highlighted, but if I pan left, you can see how far I can look and the item is still highlighted, which is pretty crazy. I mean, some people might not want this to be turned on, but it makes looting stuff super awesome because you don't have to directly look at the item to actually pick it up. Once you look in the general direction, you'll be able to pick it up. As mentioned before, the game is currently in early access and there are a bunch of bugs that you will definitely get from this game. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys something that I think everyone should practice, and that is increasing the amount of save file that you have. When you just start the game, if you go into options and then you look for saves right here, auto saves, it gives you 3. This is where it's going to be. What I suggest that you do is increase the amount of save that you have. If the game crashes, you can actually go back to a save that is convenient to you. You'll have more options than to just have the 3 that the game actually gave you. When I just started Grounded 2, I used to can't find any food because I didn't know what to do. But mushrooms are one of the best food sources that you can actually get early game. What I suggest is that just pick up as much mushroom as possible. They're pretty convenient, they don't poison you, and you can find them pretty much all over the map. And again, they're pretty useful for when you want something to eat. You can simply go ahead, attach them to your hotbar, and then you'll have a consistent food source which you can find in the overworld. So just pick up a bunch of mushrooms. It's pretty convenient and useful. The next tip that I want to share with you guys is moving items on pallets. So pallets can stack a good amount of planks. So if you're outside farming planks, or if you're farming the stem, you can actually move these items really quickly with a lot of them back to your base. For example, if I were to go and press the reload key, relocate key, you can travel very far with these items, and you're going to move a lot of items really quickly. So as you can see, I'm pretty much going a good distance away, and I still am able to place down my my pallet, which is very useful. So if you go somewhere that has a lot of stems, you can actually, you know, place it all the way out here, and my base is all the way down there, which is very useful. Farming in Grounding 2 is how you go ahead and get materials to build bases. What I suggest that you do when you're farming in Grounding 2 is actually use your mount instead of farming yourself. Your mount can go through these things like super quickly. As you can see right here, I just went through 4 of them in seconds. As opposed to using your farming tool, you'd have to sit there and chop down a grass stem, and it's going to take a lot longer. So using your mount is more effective at farming than you doing it yourself. Another cool feature that your buggy has is the gather feature. If you look on your bottom right hand corner of the screen, you're going to see gather mode by pressing E. So I'm going to press E and just walk over the items, and as you can see, my buggy is just taking up everything. I don't have to spam the key, it's just going to go ahead and take up everything. One thing that you should note is that if you actually are in the gather mode and you sprint, it's going to cancel the gather mode. So let's go ahead and activate the gather mode one more time. You can see that I'm automatically picking up stuff once I look at it. But if I were to sprint, you can see that it doesn't work anymore. I have to actually interact with it and pick up stuff. So that's something that you should know. If you are doing the gather mode and you sprint, it won't work. It will just cancel it. You have to just walk, and that will activate the gather mode and keep it active. In the game, buggy can carry up to 12 items. As you can see, my buggy is currently full, but if you hop off your buggy and then you take up another 5 item and go back to your base, you can actually wait for your buggy to come to your base, or you can call him by pressing the call key. But yeah, pretty much it's gonna come with its own 10, and I have 5, so that's 15 in total. If I were to hop back on my buggy, I'm just gonna drop the one that I had in my hand because it can only carry 15. I mean, it can only carry 12. One thing that I always forget when I'm out farming up stuff and trying to collect stuff is that my buggy has an inventory. And because of that, I normally just try to run back to base and deposit stuff. So keep in mind that your buggy does have an inventory. If you're on the buggy and you press your inventory button, you can see your backpack button. You don't see the actual buggy's inventory. You have to off, then interact with your buggy and press L or the key assigned, and you can see that your buggy now has an inventory. You can go ahead and deposit items into his inventory, and this is going to help you to have more items when you're out farming. In the early game, to craft a certain item, you're going to need something that is called a grass seed. Now, grass seed can be found on grasses. In Grounded 1, it's a little bit different. You had to find it in the overworld, but in Grounded 2, grass seeds are found on certain grasses. As you can see, this one right here at the top of it, you're going to see these seed-like stuff. You can see it on this one as well. So pretty much go up to it and just chop it down. And once it falls to the ground, you're going to see that we have 2 to 3 seeds that fell as well. So you're going to go ahead and take it up, and that's how you actually get grass seeds in the game. Milk molars work a little bit different in this game than in Grounded 1. In Grounded 1, you had to go back to the Outposts to actually use it, but in Grounded 2, you can simply use it out in the world. So simply put, go into your menu and then go over to the Milk Molars tab, and then you're going to see we have Milk Molar and the Mega Milk Molar. If you go here, we can actually upgrade it by using it on any one of these things that we want to, which is very useful. Right now, I want to max out my final slot for my mutation, my max active mutation from 3 to 4. So I'm going to save up that one to do that. I know that there's a bunch of milk molars in the game, but I haven't yet started to hunt them down as yet. But yeah, you can actually use milk molars without actually going back to the base. One of the best ways to get clean water is these things that are called dew droplets. They spawn on grass, as you can see right there. I realized that they spawn more at nighttime when you're sleeping, and then in the daytime there's going to be a lot because again it's dew, so yeah, it's going to spawn there. So one way that you can actually get it down is to follow the stem and chop down the stem or hit it once, and then it's just gonna fall to the ground.
Filling up the tank.
Another way in which you can get this is you can use your bow. So let's just stay down here, use our bow and shoot the dew. It's gonna fall down, and that's another way that you can actually get it. There is another way, but I don't recommend you actually do it. You can throw it at it, but I don't want to lose my weapon, so I'm not going to do it. You're going to be in constant battles in Grounded 2, and your armor is definitely going to be damaged. The good thing about it is that you can actually repair your armor. You don't have to go back to base, and it's pretty simple. You're going to go into your inventory. You're going to look at the item that you want to repair. For example, my bow, I can press R to repair. All I need to repair this is the sprigs. So I'm going to go ahead and repair the durability of it, and you can see that it's maxed out, which is pretty useful. So you don't have to go back to base to actually repair your item. You can simply go ahead and find the items in the overworld and then press your inventory to repair your item. Grubs are super useful in the game because they allow you to get some buff when you create smoothie. So I suggest that you go around and just get as much grubs as possible. To get a grub, you're just going to run around and you're going to see some digging in the ground. Bear in mind that there's two forms of digging, or two forms of insect that digs. You have the larva, which will attack you, and the grubs that won't attack you. How you know the difference between the two is that one has an audio cue while the other doesn't. So for the grub, it doesn't have an audio, it's just burrows on the ground very silently. But for the one that will attack you, it has an audio cue. So bear that in mind when you're actually trying to get one of these grubs from underneath the ground. So as you can see right here, there's no audio cue. So if I go ahead and pick this up, we know that it's a grub. Let's talk about crafting certain items within the game. Using the tools that are designed to craft them is more efficient than crafting it from your inventory or a workbench. Let me show you what I mean. If I wanted to craft a item and I use my inventory, for example, a crude rope, currently I have 20 plant fibers. If I want to craft one crude rope, it's going to cost 3 plant fibers. So let's go ahead, 3 plant fibers, 1 crude rope. But if I were to use a spinning wheel and craft a crude rope, it's going to be 1 plant fiber for 1 crude rope, which is so much more cost efficient. So 1 plant fiber, 1 crude rope at the spinning wheel instead of using it or crafting it in my inventory. And it's the same thing over here. If I wanted to craft one, it's 3 for 1. The roasting splint is used to cook food because eating raw food is going to poison you, give you some negative effects. So go ahead, interact with it and put it onto the cook, and then you can simply cook. You can only cook 3 items at a time. But one thing that you should know is that even if you leave the food on the splint, it's going to spoil eventually. However, if you cook your stuff in the cookery, your items will never spoil. This was sitting in here for a while now, and it's still good. There isn't any spoilage of it. So anything that you cook in your cookery will stay forever, as opposed to cooking it on your splith. In Grounded, 1 and 2, raw science are used to unlock new stuff. For example, if we go over to the science shop, you can see that we need raw science to unlock stuff like these furnishing and also science sets for buggy. So pretty much what you want to do is collect as much raw science as possible, and then you can go ahead and buy these things. To get raw science, what you're going to try to do is complete the ranger challenges. So if you go over here, you can complete these ranger challenges, which is going to give you rewards, which is raw science. For example, if I weave your weapon, it's going to give me a 300 raw science for a weaver dagger. And if you go down, we have another one, stinky business, kill a stink bug, and I get 400. So if you want to get more raw science, that's what you should do. You can also go ahead and analyze stuff. So if you go to the analyzer, items in your inventory, if you click on them and then analyze, you can actually get some raw science. The rarer the item that you analyze is, the more raw science you'll get. One of the best items that I think you should craft as early on as possible is the canteen. Again, one of the easiest ways to get clean water is by using these dew droplets. So shoot it down and you're just going to go ahead and fill up your tank so you're drinking a lot of water, so you're staying hydrated. Because if you don't have any water, you're going to die instantly after a few seconds. Now, once you do that and you filled up your water, you can actually use a canteen to keep extra water on you, so if you need it, you have it. So a canteen is crafted by using grub parts. So simply go ahead and get some grubs and then you can craft your canteen. So we're going to go ahead and scoop, and we're going to go ahead and scoop. You can scoop up to water using the canteen. So if you're out on a run, you have the canteen to give you some extra water. Buggies are pretty useful, but sometimes they get in the way. They end up killing themselves. So if I'm going into a fight and I don't want my buggy around for some reason, I can simply look at him and then press X to send to Ness. So I'm going to go ahead, press X, it's going to send him back to Ness. And if I want to call him back, I can actually press T and then I can call back my buggy. But as you can see right here, I have to wait a few seconds because I just sent him home. So if I have 2 buggies and one dies, I can actually request another buggy if I have another one assigned. Currently, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buggies assigned. So if another one dies, you can, request another one. So when I'm ready, I can request this guy, but I'm going to go ahead and fight something real quickly. Alright, so this is what I call the stand on grass. It's a technique that I think is super effective if you're fighting something that you're not sure if you can actually beat. For example, that stink bug, it's coming at me, and I'm going to show you guys how you can actually beat this thing super easy. So again, this technique is called stand on grass. So let's go ahead and just get this thing to a location where we can find something to stand on. You're just going to stand on grass and you're just going to shoot down at this thing. There's no way his stink is going to catch me all the way up here. The only large insects that can actually get up here are stuff like cockroaches, because they jump. As you can see, this guy is just standing there and I'm just going to keep on shooting him while I'm on grass, and he's just going to end up dying. So standing on grass is one of the easiest ways to defeat any insect that you can't beat. Again, the only one that you should look out for is the cockroaches, because they do jump, so they will jump up to you. Plant fiber and the saps are very useful because it allows you to craft the fiber bandage. Fiber bandage is super useful if you're out and you're trying to defeat a boss. As you can see, my health is kind of low. If I were to go ahead and use a fiber bandage, it's going to slightly boost my health, which is something that you should definitely do. Always have max health before going into a fight. So a sap catcher is super useful, and go ahead around the world and just pick up these little plants right here. These are all plant fiber, which is used to craft the meds. So just take them up, go into your inventory. I have 5 of this and I also have 5 of this one. And then if I go into my crafting menu and go to consumables, you're going to see the fiber bandage right here, and go ahead and craft some of them. I'm not sure how many of you guys use the trinkets, but trinkets are super useful in the game. If you go into your inventory, you can see the armor that you're wearing, the weapon that you're using, and also a slot called trinkets. Now this one is called the nifty needle. There are more trinkets. If you go into your crafting menu, go down to where you see the weapons, the armor, and then you're going to see trinkets right here. Currently, I have 4 different trinkets. The one that I like to use is the nifty trinket. If I click on it, it says a charge shot damage. Fully charged bow shots deal more damage, which is pretty useful. And also, if you go ahead and craft the marksman cap, which also increases damage dealt by bow attacks, is pretty cool. So you use this one with the nifty needle on a strong bow, you can pretty much take out any insect super quickly. Mutations in the game is pretty useful, but it takes a while to actually get them maxed out. I'm going to be sharing with you guys a pretty cool tip that is going to max out pretty much all of your mutations super quickly. So let's go ahead and take a look at our mutations. If we go over to the mutation tabs, we have a few mutations. Bear in mind that you can only equip up to 4 mutation. Right now I have 3 of 3, but once I use my max molar, I will be able to get 4 of 4. So again, there are different mutation and they do different things. So we have the fighting style, you choose the one that you want, compatibility, exploration, and survival. To max out a mutation, you're going to need to kill aggressive creatures multiple times. For example, the Blade Master, which I have equipped right now, the first stage is 40, the second stage is 100, and the third stage is 200. I believe the best insect to actually defeat to get your mutation up is the mites. They're pretty easy to beat. One shot if you have a good weapon, and you actually beat them super quickly. And you can also use them for other mutations. For example, let's take a look at the Perry Master. which is 26 out of 30 for the first stage. Let's go ahead and use our insect. We can also use the insect for this. So what it does, if we perfect parry, we're going to increase our parry master. So what you do is just watch his movement and time it perfectly, and it's just going to go and give you parry master even if you're on your insect. So let's go ahead. I think I did that 4 times. So if I go into my mutations now, I should have maxed out my first level, which is parry master. You can also use your hands to get stuff like the ambush. Right now I need 2 more to max it out completely. I'm going to be showing you guys a simple way to actually do that. So this is an ant, and it doesn't attack you because it's a passive creature until you attack it. So what you can do is simply just sneak up behind it, and once you do that, you can get the ambush. So I'm trying to go behind it, but it's being weird. So let's just walk up to it and then attack it. Let's just take it out, and if we go back into our thing, you can see that we now have completed it. So I did it 2 times in 1 attack, which is pretty cool. Decreasing your ant stamina does go towards your cardio fan as well. Reliable friend does work on your ants as well. So pretty much everything that works on you works on your ant. The reason why I'm sharing this tip with you in particular is because I want you guys to try and avoid it, because I don't think it actually makes sense. So if you go down here and I press the R key, it actually throws my weapon. So you can actually throw your weapon if you are trying to take out, for example, a gnat. So let's try to aim my weapon to take out this gnat. I don't want to lose my weapon. So you can see that I missed. So I don't think it's super useful to actually throw your main weapon. But if there's some reason that you want to throw it, okay, I just got the gnat. If there's some reason that you want to throw it, you can actually throw it. But be warned, you can lose your weapon if you actually do it at nighttime, so be careful. Reliable friend is one of the best mutations to have in multiplayer. If you have a friend on, what you can do is hit your friend to make him go down and then simply pick him back up. Every single time you do this, it's going to add a point to your reliable friend. If you do this for about 30 times, you will be able to max out your reliable friend, which is going to increase the speed at which you can revive a teammate. There are certain outposts within the game that allows you to customize your Scabby 2K. For example, if you were to go to this one that is located over here, you can actually customize your Scabby 2K. It's going to be a little bit different based on the character that you're playing with. Some are going to be purple, some are going to be pink, but again, it's all dependent on who you're playing as. You can also customize your boxes pretty easy. So go into the box and you can see down at the bottom it says icon customizer. Click on it and then you can put some items. For example, I have over here some spoiled meat, so I'm going to go ahead and customize this. I'm going to put something along the lines of spoiled meat. Let's put this one right here, and then I'm going to apply a color which is going to be green. And then once I look at it, it's going to, show me that icon, which is pretty cool. So one of the main items that you're going to be needing in this game is plant fibers. You can use the grinder, which is super efficient in turning items into plant fibers. Right here, you can see that I have some plant fibers. If I go ahead, I can craft this one as well, milkweeds, but I don't want to, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. I can use weed stems and turn them into plant fibers. I can use the grass planks and turn them into plant fibers. Again, this is one of the items that you're going to definitely need a lot of to craft it into crude rope. So I suggest that you go ahead and use a grinder to craft a bunch of it. So sleeping is one of the things that you should definitely do when it comes on to crafting stuff using tools within the game. I just placed the items within this, which was the grinder and the 2 spindles, and by the time I slept and I woke up, you can see that the items have now all crafted. Meaning if you are crafting different items, trying to hatch a egg, the best way to do it is to put it into the machine and then go ahead and sleep, which is going to speed up the timer depending on how long you sleep. One thing that I suggest that you do is invest in what is called raid defense. Because certain times in the game you will be raided by the 5th player, so raid defense is something that you should definitely have. As you can see down there, I'm trying to lay some spikes all around my base, and then I have this acorn turret. I'm going to funnel them into a particular area, and then I'm going to be able to shoot at them. So I suggest that you definitely invest into base defense because you're going to be raided more often than not. All right, so there's a thing in the game that is called a peeper, and pretty much what it does, it allows me to get information on different insects. So for example, if I were to peep this bug right here, I press X, and as you can see, I can peep it. And once I do that, I press the peep key to allow me to capture it. And what it does, it gives me information on that creature. So if I were to go into my tab menu and go over to the data, you're going to see the one that I just peeped, which is a harmless weevil. If I click on it, it gives me the resistance and weakness, if it has any, and also an image of that creature. It tells me its weakness, its resistance, its weak spot, and how many I've killed. And again, if I go in my tab menu, go over to the data, I can click on it and it tells me all of this as well. Trail markers are one of those items that I suggest that you use because it's super useful. Say for example, you found something that you can't farm, because for example, I found this golden molar, this mega molar. If I were to try to farm it and I don't have the level 2 tool, I won't be able to. So I want to save the location of this, and that is where the trail marker comes in. If I were to go ahead and press B, I could go ahead and build a trail marker. Let me just get rid of this insect first. So B, I can build a trail marker and I can place it right here. If I interact with it, I can do a bunch of stuff, like I can customize it as best as I want to. So if there is this mega molar right here, I can press a star and then press a yellowish thing. You can also give it a name, for example, mega molar. And if I travel a far distance away and turn around, you're going to see a golden star, which is the mega molar. So I found this mega molar and it's all the way up there, and this is where my next tip comes in. And it's always having some clay on you, because it's a good way to get up to locations where you can't actually find a way to get up to. So how it works is pretty simple. Going to build and go to your clay, and you're going to build the clay ramp. So we're going to go ahead and line it up properly so we can actually climb onto it. We're going to go ahead and place 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one. We're going to go ahead and build them. It only takes 2 clay, and it allows you to simply climb up to locations where you wouldn't be able to actually go to. But yeah, it's super useful. So go ahead and break it. So it's something that you should definitely have if you're going out exploring, and then you can go ahead and recycle them so you always have your materials. I'm not sure how many of you guys realize this, but whenever you come across these little water things that are all over the park, there's always a outpost right nearby it. So whenever you're trying to find one of these and you're close and it gives you a highlight that, hey, one of them is close by, always look for this one. If you look at where we started in the game, there is also one right above these stations. So make sure that you look for these when you're trying to find one of these outposts. As many of you know, these areas are called the frigid areas or the cold areas. If you try to go into it, you're gonna have this chilling effect, as you can see at the top part of my screen, which is not nice. It's gonna freeze you and keeps on freezing you and taking down your health. But there is something that you can do to actually slow down this chilling effect, and that is using a torch. So let's go ahead and craft a torch real quickly. So craft one torch is crafted. Let's go ahead and equip it in our hotbar. If we go into it, let's take a look at how fast the chilling effect is taking place. It's going up really fast. However, if we use a torch and go back to the chilling part, you can see that it's slowing down how fast it actually chills you. If we go into our inventory and take a look at our stats, you can see that show stats, we have a elemental resistance, which is a chilled reduction 50%. So the torch actually reduces your chill by 50%. What I suggest that you do whenever you're out in the world and it's getting dark, make a marker on the map for your base. Simply go to the map and then over your base, which is located right here, and place a marker. So simply use a circle and then press T to place a waypoint which shows you directly where you should go. There's so many times that I've been trying to run back to my base at nighttime, and I just keep running in a different direction thinking that I'm actually going the right way. All right, something that you guys should definitely keep a lookout for is the scorpions that are located underground. So there's one right here where I want to show you what to look for if you're trying to spot scorpions that are underground. So let me hop off of my mount and press my P key. This is a scorpion that is right here. It's a junior scorpion, but it's underground. It's crazy how super into the ground they are. You can actually defeat this thing super easy. All you need to do is what I call stand on grass. So I'm going to get up here by jumping on this grass and standing up here. Then I'm just going to shoot it in the face. It's going to come up and I can pretty much stand up here and aggro it. It's not going to do anything. Just try not to fall off as I fell off. So let me try to get back up on it and just try to shoot it down. Yep, and that's how you kill these creatures that are a little bit stronger than you. So one of the items that you're going to need to progress in the game is the blueberry. The best location to find a ton of blueberry is located all the way over here in the southeast part of the map. As you can see, there is a bunch of berry trees here. Bear in mind that when you come here for the first time or other times, there's going to be 2 bees that you need to take out. You're going to use your bow, which is more effective, shoot them in the face, and they're going to fall to the ground. But yeah, this is a location where you can get a bunch of berries. To find the needles, all you need to do is head to the northwest side of the map. So if you take a look at the map right now, you can see that I'm going up north in the west side of the map right here. You're going to need the level 2 Omni-Tool to actually gather these materials though. To find the Lingon berry, all you need to do is head over to this section of the map. This is the west part of the map. As soon as you pass the food cart, you're going to go to the west side of the map. In these hedges, you'll find a bunch of them underneath this section. You are going to need the level 2 Omni-Tool to actually harvest them. But once you're here, there's going to be a ton of them along here. So simply shoot them down and then farm them up with the tool and you will be good. One of the main missions that we were given in Grounded 2 is to enter this ant hill. Now this ant hill is a labyrinth. It has a bunch of soldier ants, which is pretty hard to beat when you just started the game, and also normal worker ants. So if you fight one of them, you're gonna have to fight all of them. So I suggest not going into this cave. There's a better way to actually get the egg, and that is by going into the back entrance of the cave. So what you're going to want to do is head over to this location, which is right here, the Toxic Ant Hill South entrance. So once you've made it to the location, it's going to look something like this. There is going to be a little bit of toxic things in the air, but don't worry, it's not going to do much harm. What I suggest that you also bring to this location is the Aphid Slippers. What it does, it makes you run a lot quicker. Once you have the Aphid Slippers equipped, you're going to just run inside the cave. There is going to be some toxic damage, but don't worry, it's just a little. You can turn on a torch to see where you're going. You're going to take your first right. Don't worry about any enemy, you're just going to run past them. You're going to jump down and you're going to grab an egg. Bear in mind that your main hand will be occupied by the egg, so you won't be able to attack. If you are attacked by anything, you're going to drop the egg, but you're going to take it up and you're going to run. So that is our second egg that we took from them. So we're just going to bring them over to our base and then we're going to hatch them. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I was going to be sharing 40 tips with you guys, but it ended up being 50. So hopefully the other 10 is a plus and not something that you already knew. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys in future Grounded 2 videos.